In the name of God, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Good morning.
Good morning.
So if you are one of our volunteers in the office, or if you've spent a lot of time there this week, you probably have noticed that there's been a lot of talk about lobsters recently. People have been coming by and stopping at the office to drop off their orders for the lobster sale, or calling the office. There's a lot of excitement that's getting generated about that, because of course the sale on Saturday. And last year during the lobster sale, kind of unknown fact, at least to me, about lobsters, something that I found out about them, is that lobsters, like a lot of animals that have one of those exoskeletons, lobsters molt. Did you guys know that? I didn't until recently. It might be common knowledge for everybody else, but it was important. So lobsters, all their growth, all their development, it's all stuff that happens inside. It's all that internal work that takes place. And as time goes on, and as they grow and continue in that development, they get to this point where they have to let go of their shell. They have to struggle and push their way out. Because if they don't, if they try to stay in that old shell, they suffocate. They can't survive. They can't last like that. So they have to be reborn in a way. They have to be made new. They're called into kind of a new way of being. And once they come out, they're kind of vulnerable. It's a little soft for a while. It's a little awkward for them. And then as time goes on, they live into it more deeply. They become more accustomed to that new shell, that new skin that they're in. And I'm bringing up this morning, not just to promote the lobster sale, although that's good to do, but I'm bringing this up this morning because it's the same thing for us in our journey of faith. That God is constantly calling us to become new, to be remade. But occasionally throughout the course of our lives, we have to let go of an old shell that we've been embodying. If we refuse to, then we become constrained by it. It can be suffocating. Sometimes we have to let go and have to move on to what God is calling us to do next. The reading from the book of Acts that we just heard has two perfect examples of this. Two people whose lives were completely changed. Two people who suddenly have to discover a new way of being in the world. The first story, of course, has to do with the slave girl. Paul and Silas are in the Roman colony, and as they're walking around, they're being kind of pestered by this girl who's following them. These men are slaves of the Most High God. And this slave girl is obviously a slave. So nothing that she does is really within her power. She's constrained by that status. Where she goes, what she does, who she talks to, who she socializes with. None of that's in her control. It's all up to her owners. But this particular slave girl, she's kind of doubly confined. Because she can't control what happens to her outside world, but she also isn't in control of what's happening inside of her. There's something in her that's filling her with this compulsion. It's pushing her to do these things. So she has no autonomy here. She doesn't have control of her outside world, where she goes. She doesn't have control of her internal world. And after a few days of being followed around by her, eventually the Apostle Paul gets finally annoyed, frankly, and calls this spirit or this mental illness or this thing out of her, whatever that is. He removes that from her. And even though her status isn't changed, even though she is still a slave, there's a part of her that's become free. There's a part of her that's created space, where suddenly she has control over a part of herself. We don't know how she responded to that. But we do know how her owners responded. And they were not happy. Because all of a sudden, this lucrative thing that they had going, this way of exploiting her and profiting off of her confinement, all of a sudden that's gone. All that income is out the window. And they at least do not want to see her become something new. They would prefer that she stayed in her old shell, that old way of being. So as outraged as they are, they get this mob going after the two disciples. They're beaten, they're arrested, and they're thrown into prison. While they're in prison, they're thrown into the darkish cell. Their legs are put up in shackles. They're sitting there in the dark and they're praying. They're singing hymns to God. As they do, the people in the cells next to them, the other people that are sitting in darkness, they're all listening to these prayers to God. And as this happens, something remarkable takes place. We're told that all of a sudden there's this great earthquake, that the foundation of the prison itself shook. And suddenly the socks that their feet are in, they're busted open. Their chains are unlatched. The door is flown open on its hinge. And suddenly all the prisoners have this chance to escape. They're invited into this freedom. And Paul and Silas, they have this opportunity to leave this confinement. And they go back in. They remain there for the jailer. There's this jailer who is so mortified by what's happened because his job is to keep them confined. And clearly he's failed, or at least that's what he thinks. That's how he feels. He feels that he's fallen apart and failed in this calling of his, this job of his. And he's so distraught by this that he's ready to kill himself. He's so upset by what's happened that he's ready to commit suicide and end his life right then and there. And Paul calls out to him. And Paul stops him. And right at the moment where this jailer is about to end his life, Paul doesn't just save it. He gives him a brand new life. He gives him a brand new life through his baptism, through water and the Holy Spirit. He's reborn, he's recreated, and becomes something new. Through the grace of Christ, he's reborn. And suddenly he needs to find a new way of being. He needs to learn what it is to be a Christian in this world. That means letting go of old patterns, old ways of life. The great irony in this reading that we hear this morning from Acts, the great irony is that even though Paul and Silas are in prison, even though they're the ones who are arrested and their feet are the ones in shackled, even though they're arrested and imprisoned, they're actually the only ones here who are free. They're the only ones who are truly free. Because the great irony here is the only way we become free is when we bind ourselves to Christ. That is where it happens. And that's God's dream for us. That's what Christ dreams of and prays for in his gospel. He prays that we all may be one, that we all live into that freedom given to us through the Holy Spirit, that we're all remade and live into that new light, that new way of being. The girl who followed Paul and Silas for days, shouting at them, these men are the slaves of the Most High God. She wasn't quite right. Because we find that as we follow God, as we bind ourselves to Christ, as we dedicate our lives to his service, we're not really slaves. We're sons. We're daughters. We're adopted members of God's own family. Throughout the course of our lives, we're called to let go of our old patterns, all those things that constrain us and keep us from living deeper and more authentically into that identity. We can't miss out on that. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's awkward. Sometimes living into that means that there's a period of time where you feel vulnerable, almost tender. You don't really want to do it. But if we don't let go of those things that confine us, then we can end up suffocating throughout the course of our lives. If we're like the jailer, we're so identified with our jobs and our careers and what we do, we see that as our only sense of worth, or if we are being exploited by others, like the slave girl. God invites us into something new. God invites us into a new way of being. When we follow that path, when we bind ourselves to Christ, then the foundations of what has imprisoned us throughout the course of our lives, it's shaken and shattered. The doors are wide open, and then we continue the journey with Him. Amen.